Okay, here we are at kind of low magnification. We want to see what a relined impression looks like. This one was poured, so you'll see the stone stuck around the sides there. This is exactly the way I pulled this impression off of the model. You can see that it was originally taken with blue and purple. There were some defects, so they relined this with the yellow material, which is imprint 3 from 3M. Very low viscosity, flows in there very nicely. You'll see it filled the defects. You can also see when I tilt this that it also flowed very nicely into the sulcus all the way around the tooth, which when we see the model here in a moment, it gives you just a beautiful, beautiful result. So we'll increase the magnification here a little bit. This is where I do most of my work. And you can see actually very easily the diamond marks from the prep. So this is a very beautiful impression. You can see where the reline material completely disappeared out of the side over here. So there's no change in the actual body of the impression. In areas like this right here, if I can find it, there we go. This area right here, you can see the yellow material is completely gone into a tiny little layer, if at all. So you know that it didn't affect the size or shape of that final impression by much, if any. So it makes for a very nice result. You can only do that if you don't overfill the impression with the reline material, because otherwise you have too much hydrostatic pressure. There's just no way you can reseat that impression excuse me, without distorting it or without not getting it completely seated. How's that for a double negative? So if you have too much material, there's just no way you can get that reseated. And you can see that it only flowed out a little bit to the ends there, mesial and distal. It's around the buccal and the lingua there. But that's a pretty nice result. So we'll look and see what the model itself looks like. And it's kind of overblown here, but when we increase the magnification, just like with eyeballs, you need a lot more light. And you can see how the sulcus was very nicely captured in these areas. What that means to me as a CAD/CAM designer with my scanning means that I can very quickly and easily trim this model up. It might be difficult to scan some of these areas just because the scanner sometimes doesn't quite capture these narrow little spaces. Excuse me, these little narrow spaces between the tooth and the gum. So what I do typically to make it easier for the scanner, as I'll show you here, is to actually reduce the height of the gums. And this makes it very much the way a regular lab model die model would be trimmed, with the one advantage of I don't have to pin it and do all the other stuff that the regular labs do. So you can see how now I've exposed that margin. I won't go all the way around for you here, but you see now I can see that straight from the side. You can see how nice the shoulder prep is on this as well. And now I can scan that margin from any angle. I start from the top, and I also do it from the side, and I can also do it from way down here at a really low angle to better show the exact shape of this little tiny edge of the margin. Alright, along there, shoot that from the side, look at it in profile, you can see how those are shaped. So that's pretty much what we're looking for with an impression. And on our final models, you can see I have a tiny little bubble here. If I wanted, I could fill that with, if it were a little bit bigger, I might be tempted to fill that with some occlusal pit sealant material, just because it flows very nicely and I get a nice thin layer. But when that mills, it'll just mill right past that area. It won't really affect the fit there. So all in all, this is going to be a nice quick one to trim up. You see it'll take me a few seconds to do that side. I'll do the same thing around the rest of the way around the tooth, just so that it can scan beautifully. Might not have to do this side, but I'll do it anyway, just because it's going to be so easy. Because all I have to do is come in straight from the side and and all those gums just go right away, just like this. And I don't even have to be extremely careful, because it's just going to chip away all the way down below that margin. And I started using these 12B blades just because it gives me a lot of precision with both the size, because the tip you see is quite small, but also because it's so sharp, it makes it very easy to carve the stone. I was using just a sharpened Explorer, but they wore out really fast, and they tended to spring back and cause me some trouble that way. Really nice when you're this really sharp edge is nice when you're trying to define a margin that's equigingival and is basically just a change in the shape of the curve is really all you can see in some of these equigingival preps. And I'll photograph one of those for you a little bit later.